It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is the song Road Rage. I don't even want to say that's Quiet Riot, Chris. I just want to say that that's our good friend Seann Nicols on lead vocal with Road Rage. What do you think?
It's definitely not Quiet Riot. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the guy who wrote, sang, and performed that song is with us tonight after so many years away. I want to welcome back to the Classic Metal Show our good friend Seann Nicols. What's going on, Seann?
What's happening, Neely? How you doing, Chris? Been a long time, guys.
What up, man?
Well, Seann, I gotta tell you, and I think this is actually the first time that I've spoken with you since you came back and started performing as a musician, because there was a while there where you basically were gone and were not doing anything music related.
That is right. Yeah, after that last tour in 2009, I believe it was, with Adler's Appetite, I went out on a U.S. tour with Chips Enough, Alex Grossi, Michael Thomas, and I can't remember who else. Steven Adler.
Right.
I was just so disenchanted with touring and with the music business, and I had been slugging it out for, well over a decade, and I just needed a break, man. So I retreated to suburbia and, tried to live a normal life and, tried to, raise a family and be a normal person. And after about 8 years, that ended up not working out how I had hoped or expected, and I was just pulled back into music with full force.
Well, Seann, I have to laugh because the terminology that you use, live like a normal person. So as somebody who's a musician, I'm going to assume that from that comment alone that being a musician is not, quote unquote, a normal life or a normal job, in the whole scheme of things. And can you elaborate a little bit how that's different, from the, Joe Sixpack who goes to work every day as opposed to somebody who's a performer and, a guy who has the skills and abilities such as you do with being a singer, a performer, a producer, a musician, all around. How is that life different for you?
Oh, man, you're opening up a big discussion here, but let me see how I can handle this. Look, you get a 9-to-5 job and you got some stability. You've got something, you go to your job, you do what's needed, you collect your check, and you live your life. You've got stability. There's not a whole lot of risk. And you can kind of just follow a well-beaten path, and it's straightforward, right? Now you try opening up your own business, and now you're venturing into entrepreneurialism, right? You're taking on more risk, but you're the creator of your own destiny. It's up to you to go out there and move and shake and hustle and create your business. The failure or success rests with you, right?
Right.
Then you take it to the next level, which is being an artist or a musician, especially. And in my experience, music is one of the most appreciated and least rewarded arts that you can possibly pursue, at least in the United States. And it can be really thankless, man. So you end up sacrificing everything for what you believe in and for your dream of being a success in this business. And it's tough, dude. It turns you into some sort of a mutant almost, because it consumes you and you're driven by this intangible thing that, doesn't usually result in monetary compensation. And, it's really hard to survive, but you just put your heart and you put your soul into it, and you just do it believing that everything's going to work out. And, that's what I mean by it's not normal. Most normal people, they don't jump off a cliff because they know they're going to die. Being a musician, it's almost like it feels sometimes like committing suicide because you can't see where, how it's all going to come together or how you're going to survive making it, but you just go out on a limb and you just hope that when you take that next step that there's something there to catch your foot. It's that simple, man.
Well, Seann, how difficult was it when you came back? I mean, I know what you went through because me and you talk a lot, but how difficult was it for you to transition back, and not start over, not start the Tarsha band over, not form a new band? Because, I mean, regardless of what any of us think of Quiet Riot, that's a name band, and you went from being kind of retired to back into a name band right off the jump, man, and not many people get that opportunity. How hard was that, and how difficult was it for you to not only land on your feet when you came back, but land on your feet in a bigger than normal way?
Wow, great question. You guys are really putting me to the task today. So, okay, let's see. How do I handle that one? Okay, when I came, out of my other situation, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. At that very moment in time, I was graduating with my bachelor's degree in business. So, I'm kind of coming out and I'm going, all right, I've got this degree. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I'm looking around and I'm going, well, what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I love music still, 8 years out of the game didn't change that I love music. And in fact, it helped me reset, and it helped me shake off all the disappointment that I had experienced prior, and I had a fresh take on, making music again. So I have a recording studio that I had, I didn't get rid of my gear. So I was like, I'm going to start a small music company, and I started plugging in my gear, and I started tinkering with my equipment and playing around with making some music again, and I caught the bug. And I started recording my vocals, and I started writing songs just for myself. And I started playing it for people, and people were like, oh, my God, this is good, man. What are you doing? This should be on the radio. You should be out there doing it, man. And
right.
It just kind of, it just boosted up my confidence, and I started reaching out to people. And I made a few phone calls, and I had talked to Alex Grassi, just randomly. I can't remember what brought us in contact again, but we got into a nice conversation for about an hour on the phone. And next thing I knew, I got the call, and he says, hey, can you put some vocals to these songs? And he sent me a couple Quiet Riot songs under the understanding that it was for something else, not Quiet Riot.
Okay.
And, I had been recording, for a few months leading up to that, so I was sharp, and I just went ahead and recorded the tracks. I sent it back within a day or so, and then, a couple days later, they heard the tracks, and they're like, do you want to be in the band? It was really easy,
Right.
It's just a matter of singing the song well and, recording it well and then sending it back to them. And I'm, what Alex, he told me, he goes, look, there's a very short list of people that can handle this gig, So
Right.
I think they were excited to find me. And I was excited to find them too, but obviously we got into it, we started touring together, and I started realizing that there were a lot more issues there, just on a personal level that, I didn't have any business being involved in, and that's ultimately why I believe we parted ways.
Right. Let me try and frame this up to where you don't have to throw anybody under the bus, because I know you won't. So I won't do that. But the Quiet Riot thing did not work, and there's no secret to that. And there was some ugliness when you left the band, and the whole legal thing that you went through. That being said, you came out of the Adler thing completely disenfranchised to the point that you left the business. Then you come back and you get it even worse So how do you not say, you know what, fuck this, it's just not meant for me, to ever do this musical thing?
Great question. I was armed with more knowledge, man. I could see the mistakes that Quiet Riot was making with their business, okay? And I realized that they're not the only game in town. And if they're going to run their business poorly, that's just too bad for them, And I looked at them like I would look at any other company that I was interested in being a part of. And I could see that they had bad management. I could see that their business was not being operated in an up-and-up way. And I could see that it was ultimately going to fail. So I had no problem walking away from it. And I go, there's got to be something else out there that's good for me. And if it's not out there, then I'll create it. And that's how I did it.
Right.
I saw the writing on the wall. I had to dig deeper to realize what kind of an organization I was becoming a part of, and just talking to Alex on the phone wasn't enough to really understand how Quiet Riot operates as a business and as an organization, and what their culture is, and how they talk to each other, and how they treat one another, and how they treat me, and how they think about their business, and how they reward the talent with the people that make the company work, And when I joined that band, I joined as, according to Frankie, an equal member. That there was no hierarchy. We were all equals, And I got involved. I started writing, and that statement that he said was not true. It was, and all the legal paperwork and stuff that he had me, that he put in front of me, that I did sign in good faith, but reading back on it, it was not designed to ever be a real band. It was, they were, I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into it. It's kind of, we don't need to beat a dead horse, but it just wasn't set up right. It wasn't going to work. The writing was on the wall, and, I just rolled out of it real quick. It only took me 6 months to figure it out. So I feel fortunate for that.
Right. But at the same time, then you went right into Blotzer's thing, which, Blotzer's Ratt, which I don't want to say it's a bad decision, but given the fact that there was so much up in the air with that because of all the legal finaglings that Bobby and Steven and all those guys were in, did you not look at that and say, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm really rolling the dice on this one.
Of course, man. That's kind of what it's all about, though, isn't it? It's like, here I am, Quiet Riot's trying to royally screw me.
Right.
And I know that, I'm like, shit, what's going to happen? So Bobby finds out about it. I had already done the same thing that I did for Quiet Riot. I had recorded those songs for Bobby and his version of Ratt, before I joined Quiet Riot. So he already knew I could do the gig, and so I got a call with a conference of the whole band. It was Bobby Blotzer, Stacy Blades, Mitch Perry, Brad Lang, and Bobby's attorney, and, it's this big conference call, and they're like, look, we've all talked it over. We had this other guy lined up to come out and do this one show with us in North Dakota, but we already know that that's just one for him and that it probably won't go any further than that. We'd rather get a guy that we think that we can grow with, and we've all heard your voice. We think you sound great, and we think you'd be a great match for the band. Would you like to do the gig in North Dakota? And so I'm like, hell yeah. It was easy. There was no contract to sign. I literally just, pack my bags and go on a fun trip with, a bunch of great musicians and, get to do something really fun and singing songs that I love, So it was easy for me, and I didn't see it as putting me, back at all. I looked at it as a good experience, a fun way to spend my time and expand my horizons, Now, obviously, the deeper I got into the situation, I started seeing some serious warning signs, you know, and
Right.
Bobby is not above board. Okay. Period. He's not. Okay. He's full of shit.
All right.
You know, he's full of shit. Let's just face the reality here. Okay. And once I realized that, I mean, you know, I'm looking at legal documentation that he's sending me over, all these legal documents. He's like, dude, this is real. I own the trademark. This is my band. These guys walked away from it. They dropped the ball. He goes, I took the band as a business and I built it back up, you know, to generate a lot of money. He's like, I pay my guys well. And that's one thing I'll say about Bobby. He definitely paid me, you know, and he paid me double what Frankie paid me, you know. So thumbs up for that. That was cool, you know.
Right.
He definitely treats his musicians well, like on a business level, but on a personal level, the guy's all over the place. You know, I can't get along with it. He's weird. You know, he's accused me of, you know, not being a good friend and, you know, talking to him weird, and it's just too much drama, dude. So I just, you know, I realized it wasn't going to work on a personal level with him either. But, you know, as crazy as he is, you know, he is a part of an old era, you know, and the way that he acts makes sense for where he came from and you know, what he's been through. And so I don't wish him anything negative. I think he is an important part of music history, and, you know, he was a part of bringing so many songs that me and so many other people around the world love. And, you know, I have to love him for that, you know. But working with him and getting along with him at this point in time, it's not good for me, you know. So I saw that, and I just said, you know, it is what it is. But once again, you know, it's like nothing's stopping me from creating something new or getting involved in something else. And that's exactly what I did, you know. So when I got the opportunity to sing with Westfield Massacre, I did pretty much the same thing. I recorded my voice on a couple of their tracks, and they heard it, and they liked it, and we met up, and the difference this time is that we actually have great chemistry. I actually get along with these guys. These guys think straight. They're motivated. They're professional. They're not burned out or all piped up on themselves, and they don't have egos, you know, the size of Mount Everest, you know? So it's like, this is a real working band. We can actually make good music, and we can get shit done together, you know? And that's all I've ever wanted. I just want to work with guys that I can get along with and collaborate with and explore talent with, you know? And that's exactly what we got to do when we made this album together, and I'm really proud of it.
Well, Sean, I want to take you back a little bit prior to, you know, you getting back into music. I mean, you, for whatever reason, when we, and I'm talking about we as in Chris and I and the Classic Metal Show and yourself, we first made contact. Believe it or not, Sean, it's been 12 years already. When we
Wow.
when we first made contact, you know, you didn't know us from Adam, and we didn't know you. We just were attracted by the product you were putting out as a solo musician, and we enjoyed what you did. And for whatever reason, you decided, hey, these guys are contacting me, and I'll go on their show and I'll talk to them and whatnot. But, you know, I got to meet you the first time, I think it was 2008 is when you and I met for the first time, and we went and had dinner at the Rainbow. And
Definitely, I remember that.
yeah, and I was very impressed that you were this solo guy. You had this one-room apartment in West Hollywood, and, you know, you mentioned you still held on to your equipment, which I admire you for, when you decided to pack things up and live the normal life, as you put it, and still held on to that. My question to you is, while you were away for those 8 years, how often did you look back and go, damn, I wish I was performing, or man, I got an idea for a song, or I wish I was still doing that? Did that come to you on a fairly regular basis, or were you able to just kind of like totally block that out and focus on your new life, as it were?
Man, you are going deep, Neely.
Well,
damn,
dude, you
don't
know.
Why you get the big bucks.
Well, you don't know what you know who you're dealing with here. When it comes to Chris and I, we get deep. So
yeah,
what,
man, this is good. This is good. So here we go. So the direct answer to that question is that I never was able to let it go. It haunted me. I was tormented by it. And I had to find other things to fill that space. I essentially mourned my music career and everything that I wanted to achieve in music. I mourned it like a death. And I suffered for years. I'd say that I suffered for at least 6 of those 8 years were spent suffering on a regular basis. I picked up yoga. I picked up meditation. I started surfing. I did anything to remove myself from this idea of presenting my talent to an audience of people. I isolated myself. I put myself in environments where I was alone, and I tried to just be comfortable being entirely alone. And that was the only thing that I knew how to do to deal with the terrible pain and the loss that I was feeling from turning my back on everything that I had ever wanted to do with my life.
Ooh. Wow. Well, I get that. And here's the thing, Seann, and I'm going to relate something on a personal level to you. Chris went through some personal trauma between 2009 and 2012, and it kind of left me alone. And, the CMS is something that, I had a vision for, a long time ago. And for me to just let it go was one of the most painful thoughts that I had, that I was just like, I can't just let this go because of this speed bump in the road. Because Chris and I have been a team for a long time. And to lose that team was just like, well, I get what Chris is going through. This will pass. Chris will be back. And Chris will tell you that I told him many, many times, you're going to be back.
Yep, true.
And I could not let it go. And I continued the show on. It was nothing close to the show that we do today, but I had to hold on to that little shreds of what was left. So I kind of relate to what you went through. But I'm going to be honest with you, when that YouTube video surfaced of you jumping up on stage and getting involved with singing, I think it was like some tribute band or cover band, I don't remember what it was you were singing, I couldn't have been happier to see your return. I was just like, holy shit. I'm glad to see that you're still out there singing, man. I'm glad you were out there able to belt out some tunes, and I hope you continue. And you did, and I'm glad you did. And we're going to get into your Westfield Massacre stuff here pretty quick, but just from a human interest point, I want to kind of delve back a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
The fans, obviously, every week before we start the show, we play the Classic Metal Show theme song, which you're 100% to take credit for, and people love that metal. Can you give us any of your recollections of what it was like for you to write and produce and sing and create the Classic Metal Show theme song? What do you remember about that, if anything?
Well, what I remember, and thank you for bringing this up, because I got to say, of all the things I've done, I think the Classic Metal Show is probably, like, that's my biggest hit. You guys play it every night or every show for 12 years. I mean, what kind of song gets that kind of love and attention? I mean, I had no idea that it would become such an important part of your show and that you guys would be hanging on to it all these years later. I feel so honored and so proud. It just puts a smile across my face from ear to ear when I think about it, man. I'm so stoked about it. So, but yeah, basically I had been recording the Prophecies album, and I had been, just exercising my creative muscles with, doing different sounds, and when you guys had kind of casually thrown it out there, you're like, hey, why don't you put something together for a theme song? I think it was just like a random email, and I was like, okay. And then I just opened up my system, and I was listening to a lot of like Judas Priest at the time, and like old Black Sabbath, and just like real metal. And it was perfect timing. I just started jamming. I kind of came up with that little plucky, and then it just seemed like raw. It was like classic metal. Like it spoke to me, and I pretty much wrote it and produced it over the course of 2 evenings, and the rest is history. I think I emailed you guys. I said, hey, send me a list of important phrases, and you guys sent me some phrases, and I took those phrases and wrote the lyrics to it. And I just remember sitting there and singing it. I sang through it a few times, and put a nice comp track together of the best vocal takes, and then I dropped your classic metal show. I just plopped that right in there and mixed it, and sent it out.
No doubt, dude. Well, Seann, it's amazing. The one thing with the show being on as long as it has is we change audiences about every 2 years. I think 2 to 3 years we kind of have a turnover, where we get a bunch of new people in and they all discover it, and especially now with YouTube being so popular, we're seeing a lot of people discovering it. But the theme song, even today, is a popular topic. I would say at least twice a month, if not more, we'll get somebody new in the chat room, and their first question will be like, who did the theme song? Right, Neely?
Oh, yeah. That, it's like, this is really cool. Who did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it just gets me, man. It's like, it was so much fun, and I just wanted to do that hook at metal. It just I don't know, it just made sense.
No doubt, dude. Well, Seann, let's move to today, because obviously you're in a new band, or not necessarily a new band, but new for you. And what is most new for you is the style. Westfield Massacre is not classic metal at all. It's definitely modern. It's definitely what is going on today. And it's a departure for you. I think people that know of you will be surprised the first time they hear it, but then if they listen, like I've heard the whole album, but even if you just listen to the single Famine, the old elements are kind of there, where you do have some melodic breakdowns, a lot of them actually, throughout the record. So talk a little bit about, how you get into this project, and how hard it was for you as a musician to adjust to something that really was a style that you had not done before, or at least done professionally.
Wow, man. What great questions. You guys are just hitting all the points right now. Getting involved with Westfield Massacre was something that just took me by total surprise. It was something that I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, honestly. I loved the music. It was some of the heaviest, most energetic, freshest sounding material that I had heard in a long, long time. And, my first thought was like nervousness. I'm like, I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to sing something on it that doesn't do it justice. I need, this music is so good, it needs the right treatment. And so, I opened myself up to collaborating with the guys in the band so that I could really understand where they were coming from with it and really wrap my head around an entirely new approach to singing heavy music. And I think that was really the key. That's what made this record the success that it's becoming. It was the collaboration. It was utilizing everybody's vision and being open and moldable so I could, bend my talents in ways that I had never explored before. So it was a humbling experience. It was an exciting experience. I learned a lot, and I've come out on the other side, and I feel that I've really internalized this style, and it's become a part of who I am now, and I'm really proud to have this style in my repertoire.
No doubt. Now, dude, I got to tell a quick story, and it's going to lead to a question, but I called you, I don't know. It was when you went out on tour. The bottom line is you went out on tour with Westfield Massacre before you recorded the record, I believe. And I called you at some point, and you were like, I can't talk right now. My voice is totally fucked. You were like, call me in 2 days when my voice is better. Because you were just fried from doing a show. And what I'm curious about, and you may have an answer for this, you may not, but obviously this is a much harder gig on your voice. And doing this kind of a thing, if you were to hear that first show or two versus what you're doing now, how much, A, would you hate that first show, and B, how much has changed with how you prepare, how you perform, how you do the music for this band?
Man, I gotta say, dude, there's a reason why you guys have been on the air for 20 fucking years. You guys know what to ask. You guys know what to talk about, and I fucking love these questions, guys. Seriously, kudos, man. This is good. Yeah, seriously, man. I really fucking admire you guys for the level that you guys understand music and all the nuances to. It's just amazing. Dealing with so many different people in the industry, there's a huge difference between people who know what's up and people who have no fucking idea. So thank you guys for that.
Sure.
So getting back to the question, the first shows, well, that was one thing, is I had recorded some stuff, and to be honest, it just sounded thin. It sounded kind of weak, man. I thought it sounded great at the time, but when I actually went out on tour with these guys, we spent a whole week rehearsing, just every day rehearsing before we went out on the tour, and we played 24 shows in 27 days. We went from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast and all the way back, and we did a few little crisscrosses in between. And by the time I got back, I was like a whole different beast. I was, I had power and strength in a way that I had never realized before from singing that style, singing those songs, and I would say it was pretty much night and day. And when we got back, we all knew that we were going to be able to make the record that we wanted to hear. We knew because we had felt the growth and we had felt the transformation, and it happened for us together, So we started working on it, and we ended up re-recording the first couple songs because we had done a few testers, like I said. So we went back and re-recorded those songs, and we wrote and recorded every song for the record with like a whole new level of just strength and power and support, just in terms of muscular support. It takes a lot of muscle and balls to put that shit to tape. So, or disc, I guess you could say, digital. But yeah, that was a huge part of it, man. And I had gone in and tried cutting some tracks with another guy that the band had recorded some stuff with, and he wasn't able to capture it either. It wasn't just the singing; it was actually the equipment as well. There's a magical chain of recording equipment that needs to occur to capture that type of performance. And, you know, we had to experiment and play around with it, and luckily we got it right. You know, sounds great now.
Well, Seann, I got to ask you, you know, obviously Westfield Massacre is not something that minivan moms will be driving around listening to in the car. And you made a statement early on about you should be on the radio. Well, you and I and Chris and everybody who listens to the show knows that the radio is not the place to discover music. Obviously, digital downloads or digital platforms are where it's at. Tell me what your thoughts are when, you know, the new song Famine debuted on iTunes in the top 100.
Oh, man, it's just such a great feeling. I mean, the last year and year and several months, what's it been, like 20 months, I'm going to say, that we've been, you know, working on this. And to just see it come out and people embrace it and so much positive response, that's what I do it for, man. That's the feeling. That's what I live for. And I can speak for the rest of the guys too, because we're all just super excited about it. In terms of getting it out there, in terms of mainstream success, we're feeling it out. We're learning as we go. The music business is constantly changing. It's in a state of flux. You know, but one thing that's really important to us is to just be ourselves and not try to fit into any format or chase any one network or outlet. And, you know, we don't want to compromise our style. We want to stay true to who we are. And, you know, I think the current music industry gives us the opportunity to do that, you know, because there are so many outlets online, you know, internet radio, special curated playlists. There's just such a wide variety of outlets out there that we can really just stick to doing what inspires us and find our fan base and find our following, you know, in all the different areas of the internet. And, you know, who knows, maybe mainstream as well. You know, like, I think that there could be a slot for us, you know, in the more mainstream market. And I would love to see our music reach that level. That would be an amazing experience.
Well, Seann, I got to ask you the question, though. What is mainstream? I mean, what do you see as mainstream? Because in the changing market, as you put it, what is the mainstream? I mean, what's considered that these days? Because, you know, we do have all the digital platforms out there. I just mentioned iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube. What is the mainstream?
I think if I just had to create a definition off the top of my head, I think mainstream is something that, you know, a majority of people in a certain style gravitate to, you know? So mainstream would be whatever is, you know, struck a chord with the most people in a certain genre of music. So, for example, Metallica is mainstream. You know, Five Finger Death Punch is mainstream. Any group that amasses a huge following and is able to basically run like an institution is mainstream. You know, to where they know their demographic. They have like a sound that people can instantly identify, and it represents an energy that people are aware of. And you know, there's just kind of like household name instant recognition that happens. I think that's kind of what I associate with mainstream. You know, on the negative side, the negative aspect of being mainstream is where you get groups that are purposely produced to fit into a certain preference of listener. You know, and that stuff bothers me. You know, it bothers me when I hear something come on the radio that was produced specifically to appeal to the people that listen to that station. It bugs me because they're not being themselves. they're just in it to try to make money. You know, it's very entrepreneurial. Don't get me wrong. From a business perspective, it makes sense, but from an artistic perspective, it bothers me. You know, I started making music to express myself and to explore, you know, the arts, and it bothers me sometimes when I see the ugly commercialism get its, you know, fingers on, you know, the art and suffocate the art. So, is that making sense? Like,
well, we get it. I mean, it is the age-old argument that instead of being engineered to appeal to the masses, you do what you do and people discover you because of what you do rather than you engineer yourself to the people.
That's it, exactly. That's it. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure out there. And there's a lot of people that are, you know, going to come in and say, oh, you guys need to sound more like this, you need to sound more like that. As a matter of fact, the band just had a meeting with a person who told us that, you know, we should be writing songs with the goal of stealing other bands' fans. You know? And I rolled my eyes, and that was literally the last meeting that we'll ever have with that individual. Because, you know, that is just ass backwards thinking. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, that comes from more of the corporate radio, the corporate side of the music industry. And I think that is ingrained into that culture. So there's kind of a divide that's happening. You know, you've got an organic movement of pure art and pure artistic integrity on one extreme on one side. And then on the other side, you've got just complete corporate conformity, you know? And I think to be mainstream, you know, and sustain it, you kind of have to ride the middle in some weird way. You know, you always have to have your integrity with you, but, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing to understand what people like and, you know, play to your audience. I mean, that's part of being an entertainer and a performer and providing a valuable service, you know? So I think there's nothing worse on the other side than an artist who's just so uncompromising that they alienate their entire audience, right? So you don't want to be hard right or hard left. You know, you kind of want to find a comfortable space somewhere in the middle, I think.
Right. Well, Seann, you know what? We admire the fact that you're out there doing what you do again after a hiatus, and you kind of found a home for the time being. I mean, this may be how you ride out your musical career. And Chris and I were actually kind of discussing this last week on the show. You were actually a topic on the show last week. But do you ever see yourself as working behind the scenes as a producer or engineer or whatnot if say you get to the point to where you don't want to be the front man anymore?
Absolutely, man. I grew up in the recording industry. My dad was a record producer. I grew up with recording equipment, and I absolutely love the production process. I love the recording studio. I love making a difference behind the scenes. I've been involved with numerous productions in the capacity of producer and other business things too. I mean, running a band requires many hats, and so you learn how to do a little bit of everything: PR, the music, the tour. Tour management. I mean, there's all these different facets of what it takes to make a band successful, right? And so over the years, I've had an opportunity to pretty much try my hand at all of it. And some aspects I like more than others, but really my forte, something that I really love, is producing music in the studio. And I could definitely see myself doing that probably for the rest of my life, something that I love. So, yeah.
Excellent.
I think the answer is yes.
All right, Seann. Well, before I let you go, what is your takeaway of your association with the Classic Metal Show for the last 12 years or so?
My takeaway is thank God for the Classic Metal Show. Okay, like you guys found me. I was back home with my tail between my legs after being stranded in Europe in the dead of winter in the middle of the snow in frickin' Germany. You know, I got dumped by one of my idols, the drummer of Guns N' Roses, and I felt like nobody gave a shit about me, and why should they, and why would they? And, you guys reached out and you cared, and you gave me a platform to talk to people and tell people my side of the story and tell people how it made me feel to be, dumped and shit on by one of the biggest rock stars in the world. And you guys helped me figure out, you guys helped me grow up basically and realize that, no one, it doesn't matter who somebody is. It doesn't matter how famous they are. They don't have a right to put you down. They don't have a right to treat you like shit, and I was still delusional about, it's the guy from Guns N' Roses, man. He's just a rock star, dude. He didn't mean any harm by it. You guys like, screw that, dude. Nobody should ever treat you like that. I don't care who they are. And so, you guys have really helped me mature. And I just want to give the disclaimer that I am completely cool with Steven Adler. I have let that go entirely, and I have nothing but, well wishes for him and everybody that he works with and everybody that he's associated with. So I don't want to have that misread. But getting back to you guys, you guys have really stuck by me and have made me feel like what I'm doing is worth something. So thank you for that. It's meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to me. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Seann. Well, we're glad you're out there still performing and do what you do. Go check out Seann over there at Westfield Massacre. Now, do you guys have a website or any kind of social media you want to direct people to?
Yeah, it's westfieldmassacreband.com. Check us out at Westfield Massacre on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. And if you just type in Westfield Massacre Famine, you'll get all the links to all the press that we've been receiving for the new single. It's blowing up all over the place. And you can also add me on Facebook, Seann Nicols on Facebook and Instagram. And that should keep you up to date with everything that you need to know about what we're doing.
Excellent. All right, Seann. Well, you're welcome back on the show anytime, as you're well aware. It's been too long, so let's not make it so long the next time around. And we thought we would, since you brought up Famine, we thought we would close out this interview with that song and maybe tell us a story about it.
Yeah, Famine. Famine is one of the first songs that we wrote as a group together. It's really about. I'm sorry. It's really just about dealing with some of the broken dreams. When you come to a certain point in your life and you realize that, your life has been empty. Like you've been striving for something and you realize that it was just never there, and you realize how empty you feel inside. And it's just coming to grips with that truth and dealing with that pain, and then learning to accept it, and then learning to, move forward. Like, I know it sounds kind of dark and kind of twisted, but it kind of reminds me of that time that we were talking about when I walked away from music. That really was the famine of my life, because I had lost everything that I loved, and, I felt empty inside. So it was facing the truth and then, coming back to what really mattered. And that's really the inspiration for the song.
Excellent. All right, Seann. Well, we appreciate you taking the time and bearing your soul here on the Classic Metal Show. And we'll hopefully we'll have you back soon. So we're going to wrap up this interview with some Famine from Westfield Massacre. So here it is. It is Westfield Massacre exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
It is your Classic Metal Show right here on your ClassicMetalShow.com. That is the Westfield Massacre featuring our good friend Seann Nicols on lead vocal, and it was good to have Seann here on the Classic Metal Show after so many years away. And, the guy obviously has an appreciation for what we do here on the show, as well as producing the famed Classic Metal Show theme song, which, as we mentioned in the show, that he did almost 12 years ago already. And people love it, right, Chris?
They do, man. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. So, Seann, I chatted with him for about a minute after the interview there, and he was just like, man, he goes, I can't tell you how much appreciation I have for the fact that you guys are still around and do what you do, because you do know the questions to ask.
Nice. Well, thanks.
We don't do what's it like questions.
Yeah, no. So you recorded a new album. Who'd you record with and where'd you do it at?
Right. Can you tell me your name and what you do in the band?
Yeah. So are you going out on tour? How's that going to be?
What's that like?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you get good food on tour? What kind of food do you get? I can't imagine doing like a press junket where every fucking interview is just the same shit. Ugh, that's got to suck.
Well, here's something that we haven't played in a while.
Okay.
You guys have been around for almost 30 years. What comes to mind? The album that you guys just released recently is your 9th album to date. Did you ever think that this day would come? Can you introduce yourself and tell me what you do in the band and how long has the band been around? Who produced this album and what was it like working with them? What was it like to perform on Jimmy Kimmel Live back in October, especially on Halloween? Did you all go trick-or-treating afterwards? Your band has been around for 18 long years. How does this make you feel? How long does it take you to get your hair in the way that you're known to have it?
Yngwie, your incredible playing style has been described, among other things, as neoclassical metal brilliance. Like we said, you have a latest album out, Spellbound, that Tony and I really are playing into submission. I think we need another copy of it, and we played it so much.
It is terrific.
Yngwie, obviously writing a book is different than playing guitar, but I wanted to ask you, how did you find writing the book? Did it come easy, hard? What was it like writing it?
I wanted to go way back. The first time I ever saw Cinderella play was on the David Lee Roth tour, which I believe started in 1986. Do you have any memories of that tour you could share with us, touring with David Lee Roth? Was he a nice guy? Was he a dick?
Amazing in quotes. Cheers.
That's not nice.
Weezy put that together.
That was after we made nice with Mark and
No,
John?
that was before.
Was okay. Then
Yeah, those are simply the best interviewers.
I was going to say, I just put Mark in touch with Sean this week.
Simply the best.
Nice. Yeah. All right, let's get to Stevie because he's standing by and he's annoyed that we're interrupting his UFC watching.
Oh, well, I certainly don't want to take away from his television watching.
Well, you paid for it. It's pay-per-view. So.
Oh, I gotcha. All right, well, Stevie Rochelle is going to be a part of our Summer Bash.
Yes.
And August 25th in Worcester, Ohio, which also features Every Mother's Nightmare, Red Rain, also Billy Morris Band.
New Machine, Lola Montez, LA Knights.
Yeah, a lot of bands. So if you haven't got your tickets, come on out and join us. And we're going to be there in person and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to play a tough tune here. We'll get Stevie on the phone and we'll talk to him and see what's going on with Metal Sludge, Stevie Rochelle, what's that other new band he's got?
Tales from the Porn.
Tales from the Porn. We'll get all that information here. So we're simply the best here on the Classic Metal Show. So here's some Tough. This what comes from the What Comes Around Goes Around release. And this is Spit Like This exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.